there's a thing called a topic sentence, and the topic sentence is the one sentence that summarizes an entire paragraph. And if the reader is likely to agree with you, it's the first sentence. And if you're trying to convince the reader, it'll be the last sentence. So we had a look at this one, which is the lack of a comprehensive business plan is probably the major shortcoming of most proposals received by banks and other financiers. Many business people will be first to admit they haven't the slightest idea of how to put one together. Many don't even plan their lives day by day. It's often a matter of, oh dear, what are we going to do today? In reality, it's forward planning and analysis that really makes a difference. You should have contracts lined up or be positioned as a supplier to a major service provider. So one can see in this specific paragraph that the one sentence that summarizes the whole thing is the lack of a comprehensive business plan is a major shortcoming, because this tells us that many people can't do it, which is why it's a shortcoming. Many don't even plan, which is why it's a shortcoming. And then it finally says, well, but you should actually do it properly. So that was the first one. That's the topic sentence. And we can see here that we probably agree with him, because if the reader agrees with you, then the reader doesn't have to read all the further explanations. You can just skip to the next paragraph. The next one, we can see from the first sentence, whilst public perception considers puppets to be of the Pinocchio or sock variety, this is a somewhat limited point of view. So we know from this that this guy is expecting that his readers are not going to agree with him. So obviously that can't be the topic sentence. The topic sentence will then be the last one. And let's see. Industrial puppets can be created as anything or anyone. They can travel. They can justify their existence and cost. Very expensive to hire a celebrity, but making a puppet is cheap. Puppet can be used over and over again. And then he concludes, using puppets for marketing purposes makes enormous sense, both practically and economically. So the topic sentence here is the last sentence. That's the topic sentence. What people did today was to go through their existing writing and identifying the topic sentence and making sure that the topic sentence becomes the first sentence if the readers are likely to agree with them, or the last sentence if the readers are not likely to agree with it. And then the last paragraph, you can just read it on your own later, but that doesn't have a topic sentence. It's got three sentences that are of equal weight. And that's very difficult to read or to understand because it's just three sentences random. And that's what most of the sentences people write look like. Then we looked at how are they structured? What's the structuring principle? And we said there could be chronological, which is as the time goes by. Could be anti-chronological, which is in reverse order of time. Or it could be spatial, which is how you would describe an architectural terrain, for instance, the higher ground, the middle ground, the lower ground, any obstacles, etc. Or you could have thematic arrangements, and thematic arrangements could be from general to specific, from specific to general, from concrete to abstract, or from known to unknown. And then we had a look at this one, and we said, look here, it says probably, which is a generalization. It says major, which is a generalization. It says many, which is a generalization. Many again, often. So you've got all these generalizations here. And then finally it says you should have contracts lined up and you should be positioned as a supplier to a major provider. And so we say that is general to specific. So what I ask people to do is to go through all their paragraphs, look for the topic sentence, and then look and see how they are arranged, whether it's general to specific, specific to general, etc. Now, if we look at this one, the puppet one, we've got a concrete example of how they can be used, another concrete example of how they can be used, another concrete example of how they save money, and another concrete example of how they save money. And then we say, so that's concrete, and then we say using puppets for marketing purposes makes enormous sense both practically, which is an abstract term, and economically, which is another abstract term. So we know that this paragraph is arranged from concrete to abstract. And then the final thing we looked at is this one, And we see that actually this is not arranged in any form at all. It's just 3 paragraphs, approximately the same weight, and it looks as though they may be chronologically, but it's not really chronological. And so this is a really bad paragraph. And I wanted to show that although it looks like a really well-written paragraph, it's got big words, it looks powerful, the sentences are too long, the words are too difficult, and there's no organizing principle.